The Saddest Girl in the World is probably one of my favourite Cathy Glass books. I loved it the first time I read it, and with this second time, I really enjoyed it as well. And enjoying it is a weird word to use because obviously these are quite traumatic memoirs. The children that Cathy Glass looks after, certainly after her first few years of foster caring, tend to be children either from complex backgrounds where they've maybe been abused or neglected, or they're children with behavioural problems. With the case of Donna, it's a bit of both. And I think the reason that I enjoyed this a lot is because of how much it shocks me. Even with the second time reading it, just the language her mother uses towards her is just really hard to believe. That's not to say I'm offended by the language. I don't read the book thinking, how can this book use this language? That's absolutely not the case. But it is pretty shocking to read. Donna comes to Cathy after her current foster carers are unable to control her behaviour, because the current foster carers are also looking after Donna's younger brothers. Donna is 10. I believe her brothers were about 6 and 7. And they decide that it's important to separate Donna because she seems to be controlling their behaviour, her brother's behaviours. So she goes to Cathy. And at first she is very quiet, selective mutism almost. And slowly Cathy begins to realise just how much abuse Donna has suffered at the hands of her mother. And Donna reflects some of this behaviours, this controlling behaviours, including with Cathy's own children, Adrian and Paula. Their ages in this I can't remember, but I think Adrian's the same age as Donna, and I think Paula was about 6 or 7. And Donna has this complex past, but also complex behaviour, and it's a lot for Cathy to kind of deal with. And I think reading these chronologically, this is the first time where we see a child Cathy is looking after who genuinely has very potentially damaging and dangerous behaviour that puts her own family at risk. And when you're reading these chronologically and you've spent a lot of time getting to know Cathy's family and I guess the other characters, if you like, in these memoirs, it's very difficult to read about this child who, although she is only about 10 years old, she's not even a teenager yet, she has seemingly such power and control and violent outbursts, and that's kind of betwixt moments of pure silence where she's basically not moving and not saying anything, and it's just so unpredictable. And as it progresses, there are things that are revealed at a really steady pace to keep kind of the shock factor going, because let's face it, these books are successful because of the shock factor. And I really enjoyed it for several reasons. One, the shock factor, absolutely. Two, the fact that it's the first time chronologically where I feel like Cathy is really challenged as a foster carer, and it's really inspiring to see her kind of take on Donna and all of her baggage, if you like, where many people, maybe even myself included, would say, no, this is too much, I can't deal with it, give her to a different carer. And unfortunately that does happen if foster carers maybe just can't feel like they cope, or they haven't had the right training. It's very interesting to see how Cathy handles things. It also touches upon OCD slightly. It's not quite OCD, but Donna has traits of OCD behaviour. But there's a bigger picture there, which I won't go into too much detail about because I don't want to spoil, most of the narrative, if you like. But I really thoroughly enjoyed it for the right reasons. It's definitely a journey, a very emotional roller coaster. And the only thing I wish that had gone into more detail, but it couldn't have done because obviously the book can only deliver the facts that it knows, are what happened to her brothers when they were living with their mother. You'll know what I mean if you've read the book. I can't go into more detail than that, but to be quite frank, there isn't much more detail because obviously Cathy isn't privy to that information because it's not relevant for her to care for Donna. But as a reader, I really wanted to know more. But if the information's not there, what can you do? If you haven't read any of Cathy Glass's books, this is definitely one that, if you read it, you will want to read everything else, because it really is brilliant. Definitely recommend it. Very inspiring in certain ways, emotional in others. Definitely, without a doubt, one of my favourite Cathy Glass books.